Isn't it staggering to think that in a world that is more interconnected than ever, some people are still living under occupation? Imagine, in this age of global unity, there are those whose daily existence is defined by struggle and conflict. Today, we are going to explore an issue that has been at the heart of international debates for decades, the issues facing Palestinians. This journey will take us through the annals of history, complex geopolitics, and the human dimension of the situation. Let's delve into the history to better understand the present. The roots of the Palestinian issue stretch back to the early 20th century. To fully understand the issues facing Palestinians today, we need to delve into the pages of history. To start, let's rewind to the British Mandate for Palestine, a geopolitical entity under British administration carved out of Ottoman southern Syria post-World War I. In the wake of the war, a new world order was emerging, and Britain was entrusted with the administration of Palestine. The British Mandate, established in the early 20s, was a period marked by political tension and conflicting national movements between the Jewish and Arab communities. Fast forward to November 2017 and we land upon the Balfour Declaration. This was a public statement issued by the British government during World War I, announcing support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. The declaration was controversial, as it disregarded the political rights of the non-Jewish communities living there. As we move further along the timeline, we encounter the pivotal moment in 1948 that led to the formation of Israel. Following the United Nations partition plan, the State of Israel was declared, leading to a mass displacement of around 700,000 Palestinians. This event, known as the Nakba, or catastrophe in Arabic, has left a lasting impact on the Palestinian community. The formation of Israel was a watershed moment in the history of the region. It gave rise to a new state, but it also led to the displacement of a significant number of people, a fact that forms the crux of the Palestinian struggle. The historical context of the Palestinian issue is intricate and complex. It is a mosaic of events, decisions, and policies that have shaped the region and the people living in it. Understanding this history is essential to grasping the magnitude of the challenges Palestinians face today. This historical backdrop sets the stage for the struggles Palestinians face today. As we peel back the layers of history, we begin to see the contours of the current Palestinian struggle. The year 1948 marked a turning point in the history of Palestine. In this year, a conflict that would forever alter the region erupted, known as the 1948 War. This war was not a simple clash of arms. It was a complex and deeply rooted struggle, revolving around issues of land, identity, and the right to self-determination. The war began with the United Nations partition plan for Palestine, which proposed the division of the land into an Arab state and a Jewish state. However, the plan was met with fierce resistance from the Arab nations, who opposed the creation of a Jewish state on what they considered to be Arab soil. The tensions escalated into a full-blown war, involving several Arab nations and resulting in a bitter and protracted conflict. The fighting was brutal, with both sides suffering heavy losses, but the most profound impact of the war was on the Palestinian people themselves. As the war raged on, a mass exodus of Palestinians began. This event, known as the Nakba, or catastrophe, saw around 700,000 Palestinians fleeing or being expelled from their homes. Cities and villages were emptied, families were torn apart, and a way of life was irrevocably altered. The Nakba was more than just a physical displacement. It was a cultural and emotional upheaval. The loss of home, the breaking of communities, and the severing of ties to the land left deep psychological scars. The displacement didn't end with the ceasefire in 1949. The war resulted in the creation of Israel and the fragmentation of Palestine into separate territories, leaving many Palestinians stateless. Over the years, the number of Palestinian refugees has grown into the millions, dispersed across the world, yet still longing for their homeland. The 1948 war and the Nakba are pivotal events in the Palestinian narrative. They shape the collective memory and identity of the Palestinian people, influencing their perceptions of the conflict and their aspirations for the future. The Nakba is a wound that remains unhealed, a memory etched in the hearts of Palestinians. Imagine being evicted from your home, with no place to go. Occupation and settlements are two key terms that we often hear when discussing the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But what do they really mean? Let's unravel these terms. In the aftermath of the 1967 war, Israel seized control of the West Bank and Gaza. These territories were home to a large Palestinian population. The occupation was initially considered temporary, but as years turned into decades, it became clear that Israel had no intention of relinquishing control. This occupation is not passive. It's characterized by military control, restrictions on movement, and the confiscation of Palestinian land. Imagine living under constant surveillance with your freedoms curtailed. It's a reality that Palestinians in the occupied territories face every day. Now let's talk about settlements. Israeli settlements are communities established by Israel in these occupied territories, primarily in the West Bank. These are not simple housing projects, but rather, they are strategically placed to control key resources and areas. These settlements are considered illegal under international law, which prohibits an occupying power from transferring its own civilian population into the territory it occupies. Yet, the number of settlers has grown exponentially, from a few thousand in the early 1970s to over 500,000 today. The establishment of these settlements has a profound impact on the lives of Palestinians. They often result in the forcible eviction of Palestinians from their homes and lands. These evictions are often accompanied by violence and intimidation. Imagine watching your home being demolished, your olive trees uprooted, your life's work destroyed. Moreover, these settlements fracture the West Bank into isolated enclaves, undermining the possibility of a contiguous, viable Palestinian state. They also exacerbate tensions, as they are often protected by Israeli military forces, leading to frequent confrontations and violence. The settlements are not just houses. They are symbols of displacement and loss. They represent a tangible manifestation of the occupation and the systematic denial of Palestinian rights. And so, the struggle continues. Imagine being trapped, with no way out and no access to basic necessities. This is the stark reality for many Palestinians living in the Gaza Strip, a small coastal enclave on the eastern Mediterranean. The blockade of Gaza, imposed by Israel and Egypt since 2007, is a defining feature of their lives. The blockade restricts the movement of people and goods in and out of Gaza, effectively sealing off its nearly 2 million residents from the outside world. It's not just about physical mobility, though. It's a chokehold on Gaza's economy, stifling its growth and plunging its people into poverty. Today, the unemployment rate in Gaza stands at a staggering 50%, one of the highest in the world. But the economic hardship is just one facet of this humanitarian crisis. The blockade has also crippled Gaza's healthcare system. Hospitals are often short of essential medicines and equipment, and patients requiring specialized treatment are frequently denied permission to leave the Strip. The result is a health crisis that leaves the most vulnerable, particularly children and the elderly, at risk. Education too has taken a hit. Schools are overcrowded and under-resourced, with many children having to study in shifts. The blockade has also limited access to higher education, as students are often barred from leaving Gaza to attend universities elsewhere. And then there's the psychological toll. The constant fear and uncertainty, the lack of opportunities, the sense of being cut off from the world. These are the invisible wounds of the blockade. They affect not just the individuals, but the entire community, perpetuating a cycle of despair and hopelessness. The blockade is not just a physical barrier, it is a barrier to hope and opportunities. It's a stifling reality that has shaped the lives of countless Palestinians, casting a long shadow over their dreams and aspirations. As we move forward, it's crucial to remember that any resolution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict must address this blockade and its devastating humanitarian impact. Peace is not just the absence of war, it is the presence of justice. As we delve into the peace process and the two-state solution, it's crucial to remember these profound words. The peace process has been a long and winding journey, filled with countless negotiations, agreements, and unfortunately, many setbacks. It all began in earnest with the Oslo Accords of the early 90s. These landmark agreements aim to establish a framework for future negotiations and set the stage for the two-state solution, envisioning an independent state of Palestine living side by side, in peace, with the state of Israel. Yet more than 2 decades since those hopeful beginnings, the promise of the two-state solution appears more elusive than ever. This is due to a myriad of complex challenges. One of the significant obstacles is the continued expansion of Israeli settlements in the West Bank, which complicates the territorial integrity of a potential Palestinian state. Another challenge is the political divide between the Palestinian territories themselves, with Hamas governing Gaza and the Palestinian Authority ruling the West Bank. This internal disunity makes it difficult to negotiate a unified stance for the Palestinian cause. And then there are the deep-seated issues of Jerusalem and the right of return for Palestinian refugees, issues that strike at the heart of both Palestinian and Israeli national narratives and identities. While these challenges may seem insurmountable, it's important to remember that peace is not just about resolving political disputes or drawing borders. It's about acknowledging each other's narratives, fostering mutual understanding, and building a future where both Palestinians and Israelis can live with dignity, security, and justice. This is the essence of the two-state solution and the end goal of the peace process. And it's a goal that requires the collective will of Palestinians, Israelis, and the international community. The path to peace is not easy, but it is the only path worth pursuing. As we move forward, let's remember that peace is not just about coexistence, but about creating a world where justice prevails. The issues facing Palestinians today are complex and intertwined. We're now in the present day, and the challenges Palestinians face are as diverse as they are profound. There's an intricate political landscape filled with division and strife. The two major political factions, Fatah and Hamas, have been at odds for years, creating a political divide that has further complicated the path towards a unified front and comprehensive peace. This internal discord has led to a lack of political stability, weakening the overall position of Palestinians in the international arena. On the economic front, the situation is equally challenging. The Israeli occupation has had a significant impact on the Palestinian economy, with restrictions on movement and access to resources stifling growth and development. The World Bank has reported that the Palestinian economy is in a precarious state, with high levels of unemployment, especially among the youth, and a significant reliance on international aid. Adding to this complex picture is the impact of the global COVID-19 pandemic. The virus has not only posed a serious health threat, but has further strained the already fragile economy and healthcare system. Palestinians have been grappling with the dual challenge of curbing the spread of the virus and managing the socio-economic fallout of the global health crisis. Moreover, the ongoing restrictions on movement and access to resources have made it difficult to effectively respond to the pandemic. The limited availability of testing kits and vaccines, coupled with a healthcare system stretched to its limits, has deepened the crisis. But amidst these challenges, resilience remains a defining characteristic of the Palestinian people. Despite the hardships, they continue to strive for their rights and their homeland. They continue to dream of a future where they can live in peace, dignity, and prosperity. In conclusion, the struggle for Palestinians is not just political, it's a struggle for survival and dignity. It's a struggle that's deeply rooted in the daily lives of millions of people, a struggle that continues to shape the course of their history and their future. The Palestinian issue is not just a conflict, it is a human tragedy. We've taken a journey through the labyrinth of history, politics, and human rights, and we find ourselves at the heart of a complex issue. It's a tale of displacement, of occupation, of an enduring humanitarian crisis. The issues facing Palestinians today are manifold, each one interwoven with the other, creating a tapestry of struggle and resilience. Reflecting on the historical context, we've seen how the seeds of this issue were sown decades ago. The 1948 war and the Nakba marked a pivotal point in the Palestinian narrative, a moment of profound loss and displacement that still echoes today. The occupation and settlements that followed have only served to exacerbate the situation, with the physical landscape of Palestine becoming a symbol of the conflict itself. The blockade of Gaza and the resultant humanitarian crisis is a stark reminder that the consequences of political decisions are often borne by the most vulnerable. Essential services like healthcare, education, and basic utilities have been severely affected, painting a grim picture of life under the blockade. The peace process and the concept of a two-state solution have been a glimmer of hope amid the turmoil. Yet, the current state of affairs suggests that we are still a long way from achieving this. The path to peace is fraught with obstacles, but it's a path we must continue to tread. Now, why is understanding these issues important? Because they are not mere political talking points. They are the lived realities of millions of people. They are stories of families torn apart, of homes lost, of dreams deferred. They are narratives of resilience and resistance, of a people's unwavering determination to fight for their rights. Empathy is a powerful tool. It allows us to step into someone else's shoes, to see the world through their eyes. It bridges the gap between us and them, between here and there. It's not about taking sides, but about recognizing the inherent dignity and worth of every human being. As global citizens, it is our responsibility to stay informed, to question, to engage in dialogue. It's about using our voices to amplify those that often go unheard. It's about standing up for justice, for human rights, for peace. Understanding the issues facing Palestinians is the first step towards advocating for justice and peace. Let's take that step together.